You're listening to Bigfoot Society podcast, hosted by our captain, Jeremiah Byron, where it's all Bigfoot all the time. Have you ever had the urge to do more, to be more? Now you can by joining Bigfoot Society on the Patreon. Get ad-free episodes and even member-only episodes. Take part in movie night and even live video chats. Interact behind the scenes with Jeremiah and other Patreon members like me, Leia. The powerful podcast goes on, and you may contribute a verse in our Patreon community. Carpe diem. Seize the day, Bigfooters, and make your lives extraordinary.
Welcome to Bigfoot Society. If you have Bigfoot activity to report from the same areas discussed in this episode, please reach out to me directly after this episode. And if you'd like to be on the podcast to discuss a personal Bigfoot encounter, please reach out to me directly at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. Do you wish there was more Bigfoot Society to listen to every week? Well, there is now. If you become a supporting member over at Patreon, you get a special members-only episode every single week on Wednesdays, and sometimes even more episodes. Head on over to patreon.com/The Bigfoot Society. And now let's get on with the show. 2, 1. All right, Bigfoot Society, we've got the privilege of talking to Chuck today. Chuck is an individual who's been a longtime listener of the show. He also reached out to me from Harlan County, Kentucky. And it's a pleasure to have you on the show today, Chuck.
You're welcome, Jeremiah.
Yeah, feel free to take us where we need to go, Chuck. I know you're on your way somewhere right now, but let's make the best of the time we got together, and feel free to share what you've lived through.
Alrighty. Well, I was born and raised mainly here in Harlan, Kentucky. My parents moved to Dayton, Ohio. We had turn of events in my early, I guess, 3rd or 4th year of being born, and I had a basement door slam on my head. The basement door was kind of positioned as a lay down back porch, hide the basement door, and it just raised up and had chains that would keep it from going too far back, or there was no safety measures to keep it from falling. Well, I had ventured over there and was laying down, and this door fell on my head. I've had tinnitus, the ringing of the ears, for as long as I can remember. And it's just been something that, I don't hear real good, but I sense things, I think, stronger than anyone else. I can drive by a transformer. I feel the transformer. I feel vibes that, I don't know that other people don't feel. To me, it would be odd, just like the ringing in my ears is louder than my voice. But it's never been an issue or a problem for me. I've grown to it's a normal thing. Okay, it goes on up till I'm adopted by my grandparents because of the relationship of my mother and father. Was never in a very good situation as a child. I had 2 older sisters. One was adopted from birth to my grandparents. And by the time I got 7 years old, we had been placed under my grandparents' care. And they were at a grocery store in Wallens. And it was the most spookiest building you could ever think to live in, because the creek run underneath the store. And anytime hot water got up, it would rub underneath the bottom of the store. And it was something that was quite regular. We made it through the 69 flood, and you hear the Northwest in North Carolina, we experienced that quite regular. not to the magnitude of their destruction. I've got very bad opinions of that. There ain't no monsters or there ain't no boogers. No, you better watch out for the boogers and anything else that goes creeping, crawling around in the night. We was always warned about the mountains and booger men and wood boogers and you name it, ghosts. It was just a strong belief that spirits was an actual thing. It was no mythical, childhood. We growed up with people that actually said, I've seen a ghost, family members. They're from Jellicoe, Tennessee, the hat makers. I'm originally born to Morgan, but was adopted a hat maker. So I've wore the name hat maker for several years, since I was 7. It's been just a ton of events. When I was 16, I should have traveled. And people think that when you sleepwalk or you have, I hope we're still on, but when you sleepwalk, people say, don't wake up someone sleepwalking. Well, my sisters took me for a camping trip when I was 6, after I turned 16. I did not drink. I played football all through junior high and all through high school. I graduated and played football my senior year. But I got up in my sleep at 2:30, and a gentleman had already woke up and remembered that he had his fishing poles out. And he wanted to reel his fishing poles in so they wouldn't get drug in through the night. And he said he was reeling them in, and he heard a scuffle in one of the lounge chairs that I was sleeping in. And up I come. I walked to the edge of the pier that we was sleeping on, which was at North Lake. And the pier was, 20, 30 foot on the side of the lake. And I got up and just dove in, just like it was nothing. And he said he sat there and watched me. And I made 2 or 3 circles, and I wasn't responding to him talking to me, closer and closer to the dock to where they could get a hold of me. And when I woke up, I was actually underwater, and then I thought they was drowning me. I thought they'd stuck me in the lake and was drowning me.
That is absolutely horrifying.
Okay, back it up. I was 13, in that range. We all went to the Wallens Baptist Church, several of us, and all the family members went, and we were all in the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scout leader went to our church, and people that we growed up with went to the church. It was just a family thing, and a new deacon membered up with the church, and he was raised in Wallens, but he had never been to the sand caves on Pine Mountain, and he wanted to go for a trip up there. So we figured out we'd go sand caves at the same time. Well, we're loaded for bear. We've got a Labrador Retriever with us, and he was a good hunting dog. And he had treed something when we got to the top of the mountain where you turn up to go to Watsy's Creek Fire Tower or go into the backside of Watsy's Creek, which goes into the Daniel Boone, is in the Blanton National Forest that runs toward the Boy Scout camp. The dog feet up on the tree, looking up in the tree, and it gets our attention. So we peer up in the tree, and it's a slick poplar that's maybe 80 foot tall, because in them hollers, they got to grow really tall really quick to survive. And this was a tall poplar. There's a raccoon about midways of this tree. Oh, quick draw McDraw. I jerk out, flip the shotgun around there and shoot the raccoon. We're going to eat raccoon tonight. Well, when it hit the ground, it wasn't no raccoon. It was a groundhog. Groundhogs are not found in the deep mountains. They could be, they may be few and far between, but I don't see that groundhog would have climbed up that poplar tree for no reason. I don't think the dog would have chased it up the tree that far. If it was 10 foot off the ground, 20 foot, maybe. But this groundhog was way, way up in the upper part of this poplar tree. Well, we laugh about it. We pick it up, so we're going to eat groundhog. We go to the cliff that's below the sand caves. We venture to the sand caves and look around. Really no eerie feelings or nothing. But that night, something started throwing rocks at us. And I mean, we're trying not to swear or cuss or nothing. I'm just 13, 14, the other guy's like 16, 17, and the other man's like in his 30s, late 30s. He's a deacon of the church. So, we're trying to keep her cool. We're Boy Scouts. But something's throwing rocks at us, and it threw rocks at us all night long. We shot multiple times, but we really never did really get an idea of what it was. Over the years, now, I've seen some incredible stuff. I've experienced wood knocks. I've experienced some of the most vicious growling and snarling and huffing circling my vehicle because I'm a security guard. I've been a security guard for probably going on 20 plus years. And I work anywhere from 40 to 60 hours a week. I'm anywhere from 12 hours a day to 14 hours a day. It's according if I'm there till the workers come in or if the other shift change comes in. It's according. And I've worked 5 counties in southeastern Kentucky. Some of the worst counties: Clay County, Leslie County, Laurel County, Bell County, Harlan County. I get to visit all these, and most of these is in and around the Daniel Boone National Forest. And I would advise people strongly: don't go looking for these things. Don't go coercing these things. They've evidently not been terrified. Because this year, I have never been able to say, "Oh yeah, I'm 100% believer that there's something out there." If it be a dog man, a werewolf, a Bigfoot, skin crawlers, I have no clue. But I do know this: July the 4th of this year, I had to come in to work to relieve one of the other workers. So that put me getting there at 6 o'clock. But I generally go in an hour early just to make sure I don't have no vehicle problems. No trees are in the road. No bridges are washed out. So I'm coming in, and on this road, Little Greasy, it's 2009 and 2008. I think it's 110, 210 that they come off of, 220 that they come off of. But there's really no top speed, 20 mile an hour. If you don't want to run over a critter, I've had to stop for beavers in the road. And the last one that I seen, it was so funny. He was almost at the yellow line, and I was easing up there to him because I seen him in the road, and it raised up its little arm like, please don't run over me. You know, and I wouldn't run over you, and I just dodged and went around it. But I was coming in that morning, and I generally turn my phone on, just like where my phone is now on my handle mount, that I can flip over and run my camera, because I usually like to catch a deer or the beavers. But, you know, you can't. I don't do it every day. I don't turn it on every day. And that morning, when I was coming by one of the abandoned washer plants, I thought, turn your camera on. But something told me not to. Something. It was just for some reason I didn't turn it on. And when I come around one of them curves, Jeremiah, I swear to my goodness, there was something standing just inches, less than a foot off the center line. This thing wanted me to stop in the road. I got within 3 to 4 foot, and I done got down to 5 mile because I didn't know if it was a part of a tree that had fell off of the cliff side and stuck in the road, because this thing was just the most wet, darkest black you could imagine. It was just like no seeing through it, no shining in it. It was just like it was just a blob of black tar that you couldn't see through. Now, I don't know, but I could see curly hair coming off of its head after it opened its eyes and smiled at me with a human grin. Now, I don't know. I can't even conceive what this was, but it sent terror through me. Now, this is July the 4th. It is 5 o'clock in the morning. It is probably 80 degrees. I've got all 4 windows down. Now, I've got to switch lanes and ease by this thing. Either I've got to go to the ditch and go by it on the driver's side, or I've got to keep on going and go by it on the passenger side. I was terrified. I didn't know if this thing was going to reach in and get a hold of the vehicle and try to get in or not. But when it opened its eyes and smiled and showed me its teeth, it turned its head off to the side, and it looked like a little 9-year-old shy girl that was dressed up in some kind of costume. Now that's my take of it. I have yet, it has puzzled me. I see eye shine quite regular, but that's nothing unusual because we've got deer, bear, mountain lion, bobcats. I've seen I've had black bear to stick their head in my back door looking for something to eat and have to run it off. I've seen black bear. I've had them to run in the side of my 4-wheelers before. I've seen this. This was no black bear. Black bears don't smile at you. They may smile, but this was a human smile with human teeth. I was within 5 foot. Jeremiah, I couldn't do nothing but lock my hands on the steering wheel and crawl by this thing with my head down, hoping it did not want me and it just wanted to meet up. Here I am. Guess what? I'm real. I mean, I don't know. It's just living in Harlan County. I've camped out in the mountains by myself. I've been about all we do, ginseng hunt. We gather all kinds of roots and stuff that's sellable. I mean, we live in the mountains. We are the mountains. I've never not been told there was no boogers, though.
Chuck, that is a wild sighting. When you say that it had human teeth, can you describe what the teeth looked like that you saw?
They was square teeth, pretty, jet white, no fangs. Just like I said, it was. I raised a 6-year-old. It's in the first grade this year, and I would base her the age of it, and my granddaughter, she's 11, that this child would have been somewhere around 9-ish. But it had this shy schoolgirl look to it. Now, it's just like, now this is what I take of it. Now, the 13-year-old event that I had was from a juvenile that was probably my same age. Now, I feel like me and this thing has had a connection. I didn't want to kill the groundhog. I don't know if it was the critter's pet, and it got severely pissed off that we killed the groundhog. I don't even think about eating groundhog. Groundhog's good for shoestrings, I've always been told. I've never experienced the groundhog and never wanted to. Raccoons greasy, but they're eatable. It's like a greasy squirrel. And I've eaten many a squirrel.
It sounds like you're pretty certain that what you saw in the road that day was a female Sasquatch then.
A juvenile female Sasquatch. Either it was a female on its knees. This was about 5 foot tall. It was probably level with the roof of my Jeep Liberty, which has got like one oversized tires on it that makes it just a little bit taller than a normal Liberty, but nothing great. But this thing was just, when it got past my headlight, it was like it disappeared, like it wasn't even there. I mean, I didn't have the courage to look over at the open window at it. That's how terrified I was. And they ain't many things. I mean, I don't even pack a gun. Being a security guard, I don't have to pack a gun. There's things that I can do in place of having a gun and harming anyone. I use cameras and other devices, and I go and make a phone call. If someone's trying to steal, destroy, or damage equipment that I'm watching, I have no fear. I don't even take a gun in the mountains. And I mean, I've been all over. They won't bother you as long as you don't bother them. You give them space, they'll give us space. But if you go hollering and beating on trees and yelping in the woods, well, you know what? They may come and visit your home. They don't forget. And I think they're way more spiritual than we are. I think we're part of what comes from them. I don't think they're part of what comes from us. I think we may be branched off of something that existed long, long ago. And, we've grown into an untrustworthy being. We're dangerous. We're poisonous.
Chuck, have you heard of a situation in Harlan County where, let's say, there's human beings that have been messing around and they've gotten these creatures angry, or they've felt the wrath of these creatures?
Actually, since you brought that up, I have. A friend of mine, I was talking to him, and he's in security, but they were turkey hunting on Cranks Creek Lake. They was at the dam. I'm not going to mention no names or situations of the people, but they said they split up. One went right of the dam. If you was standing looking in the lake, one went right of the dam, the other one went left into the lake area by the dam. he said as he was going up there, he kept hearing a rock or two rocks clacking together. And he didn't think much about it. Well, the same thing was going on with his partner. And he come to find out they must have walked in on a family group. And he said he made it, I don't know. Now these boys is rough and tough now. They wouldn't be scared to powder anything's honey. And I mean, they would eat it if they shot it. And they got run out of that area, and that's Stone Mountain. We have Stone Mountain, Pine Mountain, Black Mountain, and all these big, huge mountains. Pine Mountain runs an easy 120 miles, and with no breaks in it. You know, it's a fault line, and there's caves, and it's until what's under Pine Mountain. Stone Mountain's the same way. There's limestone tunnels through Stone Mountain, and you got it's just a wild place to grow up. You know, it's different. I've lived in North Carolina. I've had to live in Dayton, Ohio when I was very young. Don't remember much about it. Had a family that lives in Florida. I've rode the Everglades. I've rode airboats. We've chased hogs. We've you name it. You know, I've been to Cape Cod. You know, I've been around. I said, but there's no place like home. You know, these mountains are so different from any place in the world. Jeremiah, it's hard to distinguish, but you know, I've got another friend that root hunts, and he was talking, and you know, I've always heard things, but you know, these hollers that we have is just deep. You know, the mountain is not that high. You know, we may have 33,000 foot elevation, but I don't know what elevation actually ground level is in Wallens. You know, it's quite a bit elevation on, you know, everywhere else, but it's just a laid back, soft community. We have such an excellent school. You know, everybody knows everybody. It's just, you know, but you don't hear nobody talk about it. And if you mention it, you know, you're probably going to get a smile or a smirk. But then you may hit on one or two, just like I have. It says we was turkey hunting, and we got chased out of our favorite turkey hunting spot. He said, we've hunted there before, and we've never smelt or experienced nothing like that. And, you know, it's hard, you know, somebody throws rocks against the shotgun. You know, the odds ain't too good. But they seem that's how they do it.
Now, this area, do you also have to be aware of Dogman in this area too?
I've not heard nobody, there's really nobody even mentions nothing. I mean, they would say there's no mountain lions, but see, I've seen mountain lions. You know, they say there's no wolves or nothing. Well, you know, I've had different reports that red wolves have been turned out, but I've seen something as I was coming back from Bell County one night watching. There was something laying in the road, and it got up and scurried off. And my first opinion and first looking at it, I thought it was a giant anteater. But, you know, and you come to think about things, you know, you thought it had looked like a long, too long. The fur was like 4 to 6 inches or something, and it was just long, and it was like it had been laying in the road. You know, 119's a major thoroughfare, but it's just like it was laying in the road, and it didn't get up and run two-legged. It's like it had to scurry, and to me it looked like an anteater. That's like a long nose, a long tail. It could have been a leg sticking out. I don't know. People say, "Oh, well, I ain't no mountain lions," or you ask the officials, "Oh, they are too." They've been panthers. Black panthers been seen for years. You're not gonna see one of them. They've been people killed on. I'm sitting right now just off a Little Shepherd Trail, and a woman there got hit by something, and they're afraid it was a black bear because the nieces that I talked to said that she didn't see real good, and that she said she had been feeding a black dog of some sort, and could have been a black bear. Don't know. People, people says so much but so little.
I have no doubt that you most definitely have mountain lions probably in your area. I mean, just from what I've heard from that area over the years, it just would make sense. But I had another thought about your July 4th encounter. Did you stop by the day after to see if you could find any tracks or anything on the side of the road?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They was the way it is. There's it's rock cliff. They just about after all these little back roads, they shoot the cliff off on one side. You got maybe a 2-foot ditch, and then anything falls off of the bank, it falls out in the road. And then you got a bank on the other side that leads to the creek. This is the whole road that I drive on. It follows 2 creeks. It comes off of Pine Mountain. One comes off of 209, and the other comes off of the lower end of 209, but runs into 208, and they connect together. And 209 continues. It's just like a big giant loop, but both of them follows creeks that come from Pine Mountain. We are so blessed with creeks and water that, droughts, it may get low sometimes, but golly, our creeks never dry up. It's just, were, and if these critters like creeks and rivers, golly, and like I said, mainly I work in the Daniel Boone National Forest, and it's protected. I don't fly my drone. I don't, I'm limited on what I can do there in the forest. I don't take a gun, which I very seldom take a gun anyway.
I've really been hearing a lot of stuff from that area lately. Even had a gentleman I know that went on an expedition in the Daniel Boone, had some really, really strange things happen in there. So, multiple people are reporting that this area is just full of weirdness. The reports you've heard, they probably go way, way back for Daniel Boone having, I guess you'd say, boogers in there.
Well, like a turkey hunter, that 2 turkeys, that's been within the late 90s. It's not been a long term thing. It's just like the things that I've experienced have been in the past 20 years. Except for I'm 64 now, but except for my early years, and that was, that all them younger year turns of events was just like, it's all been like a blur. But it seems like it's all led up to, I think this critter, I think whatever it was in the road, it was meant to mind speak to me. But where I have tinnitus so bad and my ears ring, I don't think nothing could even penetrate that. I think if something tried to mind speak to me, to listen for me to mind speak to it, if it can hear what's in my mind, it would probably stick its fingers in its ears. Because, my ears ring so bad. It would be tough. It would be tough. And it was just like, it was standing there. If it hadn't opened its eyes and its mouth, I would have drove right by it thinking it was something that was just somebody, it fell out of somebody's truck. It was so black and so dark, so oily looking. But you could see, you could see the hair coming off and it curling in several places on its head. It either come out of the creek and was wet, or it had been in the creek, or something. Because there's a power line cut through just on the other side of the creek. My opinion, it had come across that cut through, heard me coming and tried to scurry and get across the road because they are a graveyard. There's several old graveyards all through this place. I mean, you'd be able to walk up on one and not even be marked. But main majority of them has got driveways going to them, and the jail facility, they all take care of all of our graveyards. They have the inmates. They do a very good job on, getting the inmates out and letting them work.
You know what I bet? I bet there's been inmates over the years in that area that have had some sightings, probably.
Oh, I've talked to hunters in that area that I've just pulled up beside on 4-wheelers and asked them, "Hey, have you ever heard anything strange?" Nope. Biggest majority will say no. And, it's some of them that's hunted in here all their life. We've got, where I'm working right now, there's wild horses, that people has turned loose for, 50 years. Just all these mountains where they flat topped them and mined them, and they've made roads and just fields and fields and fields of grass. And, people's just brought their horses that they wasn't able to feed, or that was getting older, and just wanted them to just live out their life and just, do whatever. They've turned them loose, and they've been in the mountains for years.
Do you ever have any stories floating around down there of horses that have their manes braided?
I've not, but now I have heard of horses being turned loose. Now, like where I'm at, they've got gates. Nobody goes up in there, but the gates will be unchained. They don't put locks on them because people like to ride through. The family members will ride from one area. They can ride through the mountains and unlock the gate, lock the gate back, and go into their backside of their home place. So, there's traffic that goes there, so they really don't but something turns their horses loose quite regular. And it's funny because, they say, "Oh, watch him more." Well, we got to either put a lock on it, and that never works. The keys get lost, somebody winds up, pulls the gate down, but I've been around horses and helped raise horses, but we've had horses that disappear, that you don't never find, but, that could be linked to coyotes. Coyotes chase one off, run it through the mountains. It steps in a hole or falls and breaks its leg. It's done for.
Some really fascinating stuff that you've got going on down there, Chuck. Were there any other things that you wanted to share in our time together today?
No, not really. I mean, it's so sporadic. I mean, I could say, "Oh yeah, they're here. I could promise you, come set your equipment up." No, it's not like that. The experiences I had, it will go 3 years before I see something or hear something odd. I'll go, 364 days, which is 365 days, but I'll go 364 days a year and not see squat, not hear nothing. And then it be one weekend, you'll hear something thrashing around or holler, 2 or 3 hollers and a wood knock, and then, you won't hear nothing. It's just like, this is just like a layover for the next flight, because the avenues that we have, the way the mountains runs, they can go east, west, several directions, and run the top of the ridges and travel 100 miles in probably an afternoon.
Chuck, it has been a pleasure chatting with you. I mean, what an incredible road sighting, just right there, right in front of your face. Thank you for sharing that with us.
It's blown me away. I've been so speechless. I told my son, he believes me. He's a security guard. He says he hears stuff, but that's him. That's what he's going to have to learn to figure out on his own. I have no clue, but I tell you what I do know. There's no way I would go set up, because you're not going to trick them. You're not going to put a camera up that they don't know of. They hear all, see all. You're in their territory. They rule that domain. We can borrow it when we want to, as long as we're not selfish about it. And when we are, I think we hear about it. Leave me alone and I'll leave you alone.
Absolutely. Makes sense. It's definitely, if you live down in that area, Harlan County in southeast Kentucky, keep your eyes out, because you guys got some weird stuff going on.
If you want to enjoy them, go be yourself. Go have fun. They love to watch us having fun. I feel sometimes like where I'm sitting there watching my phone, watching a movie or something, that one of them's close by watching. They love to be entertained. They don't want them to be the entertainer. They want you to be the entertainer.
Absolutely, yes. That is, I think you hit the nail right on the head. I've heard of a lot of recent things that happen where the person is just sitting there, maybe messing around on their phone, and you never know. Stuff is definitely watching us from the woods when we're just hanging out there. So.
And what it is or where it come from, who knows? But there's things out there that we have no clue about. I don't know that we ever will. It's just, it's mind-boggling.
Absolutely.
Terrifying to know, you wouldn't believe what I've done to the back part of my place. Man, I live in an area where it was a old railroad tracks, and it had a coal tipple on it. Well, they've been rose bushes and honeysuckle trees and stuff growing for 80 years. Hey, I've trimmed back 200, almost 100 yards back in a big circle, so I can turn on a light, and I know there's nothing standing out there. Now, this has all happened after the 4th. I mean, I got busy. I mean, I know there's no preventing it, but at least I know if I turn my lights on, that area is lit up. There's nowhere to hide there.
Did weird stuff start happening at home after the 4th?
It's just like anybody else that's had an encounter.
Right.
You see all and hear all. Everything, every dark spot is that being at snap of a twig. You're ready. The sound of something, outside the vehicle, makes you snap your head around.
Right.
Because they're there now. There's something there. What is it? I don't know. I'm glad it was what it was, because I would have probably hit the ditch. If it would have been a 7, 8, 9 foot critter in the road, I would have probably hit the ditch. I don't know what I would have done. I may have passed out. I don't know. But this here was very terrifying in a subtle, unusual way. I don't know. But it had human teeth. I know that. And I know it spooked the crap out of me.
Great looking teeth from what it sounds like, which is, hey, good on that guy.
Yeah.
Well, Chuck, keep me in mind if anything starts happening to you at home. Definitely feel free to reach out and let me know. But it sounds like you got it nice and cleared around your house so you can see stuff at night. So that's good. But
yes, Jeremiah, I really thoroughly enjoy your channel. And all these people that's had these encounters, I feel for them because it's just like opening Pandora's box. You know, people, you know, you think, oh, yeah, okay, you know, and they're not. I'm not going to. I never expected to experience. I never wanted to experience nothing. I've never looked for them. I mean, where I have tendonitis, my hearing ain't the greatest, but I can hear things, you know, beyond the. I've learned to control my hearing where I hear things above what the noise in my head is. You know, it's just, you know, I have no problem with my hearing, just the ringing in my ears.
Absolutely.
And it's blowed me away. Jeremiah, you have a good evening and be safe.
You as well, sir. And we'll keep in touch. Let us know if anything else occurs, but you have a good one, sir.
You too. Bye.
Please take a minute to help out the show by subscribing on YouTube, making sure you hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications, and share the episode on YouTube with a friend. Also, if you're listening to us on a podcast, thank you so much. Make sure that you're subscribed. Share the show with a friend. Really, it's all about sharing the show wherever you can. If you've had a Bigfoot encounter related to the following or know someone who has, please reach out to me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com or pass on my email. Here's a list. If you've had any encounters in Oregon, which I'm sure there's probably a few of you out there, please feel free to reach out immediately. You can use email bigfootsociety@gmail.com. A special thank you to all the Bigfoot Society Patreon and YouTube channel members. It's your support that helps keep the show going, and I extremely appreciate it. If you want to join in the fun, you can join over at patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. I'll see you there. And again, thanks for listening.